Machine, pencil, cartography. My channel's goals involve teaching my audience about diverse topics in geography and navigation. This goal will require us to study the International Specification for Orienteering Maps and to become knowledgeable about our maps and symbology. Today I will be continuing on the theme of creating hand-drawn maps because I have recently learned a handful of techniques that I am super excited to talk about. Recently, I have been experimenting with a few techniques for making hand-drawn maps, and I researched this one specific drawing technique. These lines are called hatch pattern fills. This is a tried and true drawing technique, and the history of this technique goes back for decades, if not centuries. So this is a classical technique, and this is one reason why this technique deserves to be talked about. I began practicing with an easy application for hatch pattern fills, and I used this technique on a recent video that I posted on machine pencil cartography titled No Trespass to Land. This technique uses a red hatch pattern fill to symbolize and represent navigationally restricted areas such as private property. When this fill appears on a map, it usually represents a geopolitical restriction in navigation rather than a literal navigational obstruction. It is so very cool because the average person could draw this hatch pattern fill onto a map themselves, and the only supplies that they might need to accomplish this technique would be a colored pencil. So this is a drawing technique that could definitely be within reach for the ordinary person with only a small amount of initiative. After having this experience, I was inspired to look for other geographical features that I could draw using the same technique. And I figured out that I could use this technique to draw swales onto my maps. Swales are ephemeral water features that are only around for part of the year. They only appear on the map during rainfall, or shortly after rainfall, and then they disappear again. This technique for drawing swales also incorporates the hatch pattern fills, except this time we will draw a hatch pattern fill using a blue pencil rather than a red pencil. After trying this technique, I also went in and I created a lacustrine noise using tools such as a Perlin texture or a Musgrave texture. And the intention behind using these textures was to create an organic volume to apply my hatch pattern fills onto in order to create some layered complexity for my maps. My reasoning for why this technique is geologically accurate is that these swale patterns will often form inside of lacustrine or palustrine environments, and these environments often feature topologies similar to a Perlin or Musgrave noise, because these palustrine regions often feature a fair amount of roughness as these regions don't have flat foundations. I figured that in the future I could draw on an earthen wall or an esker, for example, and I could draw these features onto my maps by hand using an orange or brown spline. My final drawing today will use a green hatch pattern fill to represent herbaceous land cover on the map, as this is the third way that cartographers use hatch pattern fills to portray geographical data on their maps. In these maps, the green hatch pattern technically represents a land cover symbology, and it is worth noting that when a map contains symbology for herbaceous land cover, this will not preclude our map from also featuring a forested layer in the same map, which will be represented by a homogeneous green fill, displaying both geographical fields in the same area. This is in fact an opportunity for our maps to display more information in the same chart, because the homogeneous green fill will describe tree cover and will represent a savanna. This is a geographical area where the trees have a very full canopy. It is known to geographers that a savanna will have a full canopy, except that a savanna will have almost zero ground cover. By contrast, the ground cover, known as herbaceous land, is symbolized by our green hatch pattern fills. It can be demonstrated that in order to symbolize a parcel of land that has a canopy and land cover in the same area of land, our maps will be required to show both the homogeneous green fill and the dark green hatch pattern overlaid on top of each other in the same study area. As a final note, navigators will absolutely find value in reading the herbaceous land cover fields in their maps, because of how detrimental these shrubs are to pedestrians as they navigate through the forest. Learning how to read your map for indications of herbaceous land will without a doubt be beneficial for land navigation, and this lesson will offer insight in how to avoid these briar patches in the future. This shows that the herbaceous land cover field in your map is not worthless, and that this field can actually be quite valuable. If you would like to know more about navigating in herbaceous lands, I made a video about herbaceous land that you can find somewhere in the video description or on my channel. Thank you for listening. I felt very excited to make this video, and this was truly an exciting topic for me to learn about. This has been Machine Pencil Cartography, signing out.